Just a quick disclaimer, this SFX makeup tutorial does contain some slightly graphic content that some viewers may find disturbing or uncomfortable. Everything is made with SFX makeup. Please view at your own discretion. Hey everyone, my name is Nikki. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Halloween week. It's great to have you all here. So this video is an SFX zombie bite tutorial. I'm really excited to get started and I absolutely love creating this. So I'll be using liquid latex here, and what I'm going to do first of all is create the prosthetic. I'm using these cotton pads and basically cutting out these teeth marks, as you can see. It's very simple and easy to do. So next, of course, we're going to grab the liquid latex. Make sure before you use it, you always do a skin patch test to ensure that you don't have any allergic reactions at least 24 hours beforehand. And because it does get quite messy, you might need to have some tissues or wipes around just in case. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mark out where I'm going to put the prosthetic with the liquid latex, applying it with this barbecue skewer in this semicircle oval shape. Then I'll apply the prosthetic on top of it, as you can see here, and then saturate it in the liquid latex again. This way I'll be able to mold it and manipulate it how I need to, and it will stick to my shoulder. Please also keep in mind that when you're doing this, you have the perfect opportunity to move around the prosthetic however you need to. You can manipulate the bite marks how you want and make sure that it is in the perfect position and shape for you. It's also a good idea to ensure that every single piece, every single area is covered in this liquid latex, because especially with such a tricky prosthetic like this, there are lots of gaps in the bite marks so you might accidentally miss out, and it is important that this needs to be completely saturated in the liquid latex. Then once you're happy with the top part, you're going to need to add the second bottom part. So you're going to be doing the same thing, marking out where you want it to be, add the liquid latex there, and then place the bottom half of the prosthetic onto the liquid latex and saturate it again. It's quite a simple and easy method, and this prosthetic is actually quite easy to take off, unlike other liquid latex prosthetics, which is a huge positive to this makeup tutorial. When using liquid latex, do ensure that you take your time. It will take a lot of working, and sometimes things won't work out the first time you try. But it is very important that you do the best job that you can here and try and keep it as neat as possible, because sometimes there's a slight issue when, due to the texture of liquid latex, it sets with a sort of rubbery texture, and sometimes that means that things like eyeshadows won't stick as well to them, and it's really hard to manipulate it when it comes to adding on the color after the prosthetic is dried. Besides that, I'd also just like to say, aside from things like fake blood and the liquid latex, everything in this video you will most likely have in your makeup collection at home, or if not, you can easily get them in supermarkets. You can find fake blood and liquid latex in places like your local Tesco's or Sainsbury's. Anyway, once you're happy with the prosthetic, leave it to dry, and to speed up the process, I use the hairdryer on the cool setting. Once it has set, you must cover it with foundation and concealer to try and remove that pale yellow color. It is very difficult to blend in with your natural skin tone, so to do that I am using a foundation that's darker than my natural skin tone and a brush to get into all of those little gaps and spaces, especially in between the teeth. I'm mainly focusing on the prosthetic and the area around it. As you can see here, I'm not too focused on the actual inside of this zombie bite wound crater. After I'm done with the foundation, I'll then be going over it in a lighter concealer, and through lots of practice and different attempts, I found that usually cream concealers or color correcting concealers work the best for me because they're incredibly high coverage. However, another method is to use a foundation that is a lot darker than your natural skin tone and then cover the area again, however in a concealer, something that's as high coverage as possible in a lighter color. Because unfortunately, a slight downside of this is that sometimes you're left with a bright orange patch on your skin from using, of course, a darker foundation or concealer. And then, of course, once you're done with the foundation and concealer, set it with some face powder. Now we're going to move on to adding color, and I'm going to be using these two shades of blush and just adding it around the edges of the prosthetic, as you can see here. This is to create the illusion of irritation, because if I were bitten by a zombie, my skin would be very irritated and incredibly sore. That's why I'm using a lot of rosy tones, reds and pinks. Try your hardest to work it into the prosthetic and around it, and make it as realistic as possible, because the whole point of special effects makeup is to make it look as good and realistic as you can. Now, moving on from that, I'm going to be using this purple eyeshadow and this grey eyeshadow just to create the effect of depth and bruising, because I'm pretty sure that this would bruise quite quickly. It would be quite grubby and dirty, because if we're living in a zombie apocalypse, I think that's what a zombie bite would look like, or how I might look like. Just try and imagine what you would look like in that sort of situation and replicate it, and if you want, you can use reference photos.
Don't be scared.
Next, I'll be taking this brown and this pink shade here, and then using those to further add irritation and depth to the zombie bite, trying to make it look as red and inflamed as possible, as well as darkening certain areas. Next, I'm going to be taking this red shade from this palette here and drawing on some veins with a thin, pointed eyeliner brush. And I'm just going to do this and bring them out upwards towards my neck everywhere, reaching out as far as possible. I feel like this is a really cool and interesting extra touch. It just feels like the infection is spreading and going all the way through my veins. I think it looks really cool and is a brilliant extra add-on for this makeup tutorial. Next, I'm just going to be adding irritation, trying to perfect everything so it looks just perfect and how I want it to. And then after that, I'll be taking this bright yellow shade, and now I'm going to add that around the zombie bite to make it look like it's very infected and highly bruised. I think it's a very interesting touch again, and just adds a lot more extra color and detail. Now that we've got the base of the outside of the zombie bite, now we're going to be focusing on the inside. I'm taking this brown eyeshadow shade and this black and just putting it inside the zombie bite crate and in between all of the teeth marks and the bite marks. This is just to add extra depth, make the wound look quite dark and as if a real chunk has been taken out of my shoulder. I'm also adding some of that brown eyeshadow onto this big fluffy round brush and brushing it all over the place just to make my shoulder look quite dirty, quite grubby. Also that there's a lot of bruising and it's just going all the way up my neck and down my body like it's spreading and I'm slowly turning into a zombie and my skin and my flesh is rotting. So right now I'm just playing around with lots of different colors, trying to experiment with depth and see what can happen. Because in this moment you really need to use your creative license and just go downtown, do what you feel is right. Just a little tip, I found that because of the nature of the latex, having a slightly damp brush can often help the pigment of eyeshadows transfer onto it a little bit better. Now moving on and remaking the veins. So I'm using that same red eyeshadow and that fine brush and just bringing them outwards as far as possible and extending them quite a lot more, emphasizing them. Next, I'm just buffing everything out with this big fluffy round brush. And then after that, we're going to be adding some blood. And then after we're done with that, we'll be adding some fake blood. So this is a fake blood spray and this is a fake gel blood. I really like the different consistencies, so I'm starting off with this fake blood spray. I'm adding it around the bite marks in the teeth and just gently and lightly dabbing it onto there, trying to make sure it fills in all of the different gaps. And then I'll go on to filling the main section of the bite mark. Personally, this is my favorite fake blood to use because it has quite a dark color and it also doesn't dry. It remains quite glossy, shiny, and looks very fresh. And then, of course, to make this bite mark look a little bit more messy, I'm adding some of that fake blood to the end of a brush and just dotting it around the blend between the latex and my shoulder. This makes it look a little more messy, a little more intense, and then also as if some blood had been splattered during getting bitten by a zombie. This also helps hide the blend between the latex and the skin and makes it look a lot more seamless. And that's it for my zombie bite makeup tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to see more. So I hope you guys have a great day, a brilliant Halloween, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Halloween Week. Bye, and don't forget to stay spooky.
Capable of doing terrible things.